Check, check. How we looking? Y'all hear me? Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Doesn't matter who we are. What matters is the plan. How we looking? Can you all hear me? Check, 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 check. I like to be nude. I am an avowed Asian chubby chaser, and I admit it. The Bane voice and the is basically a Bill Clinton voice. It's all in the back of the throat. You kind of croak it out, and then just add the British accent. You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it. Crushing this plane with no survivors. All right. What do we got going on here? Y'all can hear me, I assume. No, my boner went away. As soon as the Greg Ginn band finished up their fucking magnum opus, the breakup song, like the old man I am, I wilted like day-old lettuce. All right, so here we are. I got to admit, I am in a positively effervescent, ebullient fucking mood right now. How's my mustache look, by the way? My stash. In last week's episode, or whatever this recurring, in last week's version of this thing we're now engaging in now, when I was watching it back, my fucking stash kept popping out like Kaiser Wilhelm II. I look like a douchebag. So I trimmed it today. Think I'm looking sharp unless I have like a big fucking schnot hanging from my schnot locker. But in last Saturday's live stream, I was a bit preoccupied, a bit distracted, because it was my ex's, birthday. And it wasn't so much that, it was that I wanted to get the dedication at the beginning right. That was basically it. But tonight, I am in a positively effervescent, ebullient fucking mood. I am glad to be alive. I am grateful to be here in this fucking shed of the living dead. It is a hell of a night to be breathing, ain't it? I hope you're all feeling all right. Like, subscribe while you're here. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit notify. That way there I can get around Facebook and the social medias and that fucking crap it's mainly Facebook. They keep fucking, I guess they call it shadow banning, but all it is they suppress your posts. And like I said, I think it's because they don't like my name. That and the pussy licking video. They really didn't like the pussy licking video. But, all right. Hello there, fellow dudes, damsels, dandies, and dashing dastards with a deranged demonic desire for delirious, delicious, daring do like this deviant dilettante right fucking here. Like all you deviant dilettantes out fucking there. The second official church gathering of the Land of Nod and Team No Head in the Oven meeting is now officially adjourned. How's that? So, what do we got going on here? How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody feeling? We'll do a quick run through of who's here, although, Jesus, a lot of people here. Start at 70 again. I was stunned last week. The minute I clicked off, it told me that 491 people had watched. That was on one day's fucking notice, and I'm aghast. I find that crazy, that many people stopped by. I am humbled and grateful for that, of course. But, all right, so let's get through this real quick. Johnny No Bueno, Sean O'Brien, Wasted Youth Australia, Cody Joe, Jamie S., Johnny Val. How you hanging in there, brother? John Hansen, welcome. I don't know any Dutch right now off the top of my head. Dr. Delio, Bradford Taylor, always here first. What's going on, brother? My fellow power bottom from the top. Jake Kenny, good for nothing. Allst Weapon 79, Hockey Hooligan. I saw Tiffany Harden was in the house. How you doing, hun? Nathan, the Eastbound Hyena. Thank you for the video last night. That was fucking huge. That was awesome. One of the most potent things anybody's ever sent me. Jack Shattuck is in the house. Denied is here. What's going on, kid? We'll get through this. Hold on. Everybody keep their panties on until the prayer. Mapathetics here. What's going on, player? Jason Beluski. Dylan Trethewan. Check. What's going on, brother? Alan Perry, I think I said him. Dito, what's going on? What's going on, brother? How are you holding up down there in the hot zone, which is now becoming a hot zone everywhere? Nick M. What's going on, brother? Oh, shit. Look who's back indeed. Matt 123241. What's going on, brother? Zach and Julie Lopez. What's going on? The Bill Clinton impression. What's it pain? Crashing this plane with no survivors. Levante GOB. What's going on? Dacia Hensley. Are you named after Dacia, the ancient city-state that used to war with Greece? We're going to get into ancient Greece in this one. Ryan Glockler. Tiffany, what's going on, hon? Glad you're still here. Anthony Christopher Cesanaro. Moustache, I love it. Moose, if you're in here, tell me, hey, this is me, Moose, if you got a different name. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're all right. Wasted Youth Australia. Judge Hammers 960. Still flying by. Johnny Napalm. Wicked Shamrock, my boy. Yeah, my hair does look fucking great. I agree. It always does, but it looks especially fine right now. That's Sean Haney. He does the art for the placards and thumbnails and art for the Blood for Blood shit. That leads me to something I got to get into in a second. But the Blood for Blood, Truly Tasteless Tortillas. He does the art for it. I just shot Kush King 420s in here. What's going on, brother? You gave me some ideas. We'll get to them. I have topics tonight in case we can't manufacture something from here. John Nilsson. Chucky Goria. What's going on, brother? How's everything going down in Texas? All right, I think we're at the fucking getting towards the bottom here. I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, that's the problem with these things. If I miss anybody, I get severe big Catholic guilt over it. Richard Jennings. All right, so speaking of the Blood for Blood video, I have to print the retraction. This is like a formal retraction. Unlike most news agencies, if I get something wrong, I try to address it and fucking own it. Chop, what's going on, brother? Matt, I'll get to that in a second. I found out, and I knew this even right before I put the video up. I don't think it was Ian that slipped me the Viagra in that video. I don't think it was Ian. In fact, I'm almost 100% certain of it. He hasn't confirmed yet. I meant to ask him. I haven't been able to talk to him for the last couple of days. I think I know who did do it. This was a mystery for years. It was only later I found out, and at the time I just had a strong suspicion. Moose is doing good? Fucking A. He bulked up, huh? He was a big... That would be a dude... I mean, he was already an enforcer for that fucking... I'm not... He's a big dude. If he starts lifting, he's going to be a real big dude. Tracy Thompson, what's going on? Down in Okie. Discarded youth. Nope, I got you this time. Nobody gets left behind at Team No Head in the Oven. Sick Boy Loco. What's going on, brother? Got the soul glow with my fucking, my Jerry curls. So where the fuck was I at? So the Viagra thing. That definitely happened, and I definitely found out later. It was actually, well, no, I don't want to. Somebody in this stream, or who will likely be in this stream, was actually the one that gave it to me. If he wants to out himself, he can do it. But it's a mystery who is truly behind the dirty deed. But I did want to say something about Viagra. Some people asked me about it. Somebody had asked, Tony Clifton, what's going on, brother? John Romano, what's going on? Mike Pruitt, what's going on, brother? I'm going to try to keep up on this when I can. How's he doing tonight? How's he doing otherwise? How's he doing personally? I know he was real injured. I had to talk him down that when they kicked him out of the hospital and he was kicking the Xanax and the fucking, the OCs. I mean, obviously they had him on the Oscars in there, but, he went psychotic on me. Sick Steve, what's going on, brother? Ellis Azriel, what's going on? Named after the biblical angel of death. Bonnie Erickson, cheers from Detroit. What's going on, brother? What part of Detroit? Drugstore Cowboys here. Corey Home Music is here. All right. Somebody had said, you ever try taking a shit with a Viagra boner? No, I have not, fortunately, but it's no fucking joke. Viagra and Cialis and Levitra or whatever, all those drugs that give you bonus, they're basically just a beta blocker. They repress the chemical signal your body sends to turn a boner off. So they don't actually give you a boner. They just prevent it from going away real quick. And in rare occasions, it can cause a condition called priapism. Priapism is named, it's basically a boner that doesn't go away for more than like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And it's life-threatening. It can kill you. I don't know the mechanism of action by which it does kill you, but even if it doesn't kill you, it can render you impotent for the rest of your life. And the term Priapism comes from King Priam, from Homer's Iliad, the king of Troy. His name was Priam. He was the father of Hector and what was the other son's name that fought Diomedes? Deiphobus. He was also the uncle of Aeneas. Aeneas, the fictional, the legendary founder of Rome. But either way, he had like 200 legitimate kids and like 500 illegitimate kids all over the place. So the guy was a walking hard-on looking for a hole to stick it in. That's where you get the term Priapism, Priam, King Priam, and that's a boner that don't go away forever. And back in the late 1800s, there was this weird case that baffled doctors until relatively recently. The French Foreign Legion was in North Africa, and in 2 separate instances, a good portion of them, I don't know what they were. I don't know if they were a battalion. I don't know if they were a division. I don't know what units the French Foreign Legion fucking operates in or under. But basically, almost all of them, they all got priapism. They all had these raging fucking hard-ons for days. Some of them died. Some of them became impotent after. They were screaming. They were moaning. I mean, a hard-on, if you don't do something about it, can hurt anyway. Imagine having one for 8 hours and not being able to get rid of it. Well, it happened twice. And they finally traced it. It happened both times after they had been camped on this river, the Legion. I don't know if this was in the same war or military action or whatever, but within a few years, they traced it back to this river that they had been camping on. And in the river were a bunch of frogs that the guys were eating because they're French. That's why the racial slur for French people is frog, because they eat fucking frogs' legs like they're going out of fucking style, or at least they did back then. So they've been eating these fucking frog legs because they were on this river. They're supplementing their own food supply, foraging, and I guess they ate tons of them. And it wasn't the frogs themselves. It was a beetle the frogs had been eating. The frogs were living off this beetle. And Spanish fly is a chemical called cantharidin. And the frogs were eating the beetles. The frogs were eating the frogs. Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk. The French guys were eating the frogs. They gave themselves massive concentration of what is effectively Spanish fly. So basically the French Foreign Legion back in like the 1860s had like Superman bonus to the point that some of them died and they got impotent. I don't know why I felt compelled to share this with you. Except that I'm damn glad that I didn't get a 3-hour boner that night that I got dosed. Blake Patria in the house. What's going on, brother? Jesus, chat is fucking bumping. Hold on. Just catching up. Susie Leahy. What's going on, hon? Say siete trace. AWSF. Back in the house. Pete Campbell. Hold on. Bonnie Erickson, good to see you, brother. It just jumped again. That's what it fucking does. Good for nothing. What's going on? Blood for death. Yeah, that's true about the wandering spider. You talking about the Brazilian wandering spider? I've heard that it can cause like a fucking neurological reaction where you get a really mean boner while you die. Scott Smith, what's going on, brother? Yep, John Hanson just mentioned that as well, the spider. So, the great mystery is who actually spiked me with that Viagra on stage that night. Because it was definitely Viagra. It said Pfizer on it, and if I had been smart, the big triangle Pfizer pill, they still make them. They look, I never forgot it. And it says VGR and then a number. And that's what it was. That's what I did. Jack Shattuck says, frog-eating surrender chickens. We should not paint them with such a brush, although there's anybody you can make fun, I'm a Francophile. I find the French culture fascinating. The French Revolution is one of my pet subjects, although I am not nearly conversant on that as I am in some other subjects. Robert Lawrence, what's going on, brother? And I found them interesting during the 100 Years' War, of course, Middle Ages, time period of the Black Death, which is another subject I'd like to get to. Total side subject. I found a use for death metal. I found a fucking use for death metal. A lot of these live streams have turned into fucking, I'm trying to watch the stream and think at the same time. Jack Phillips, what's going on, brother? A lot of these live streams have turned into basically musical discussions where we talk about all different kinds of music and stuff like that. I actually love doing that because you'll never hear me talking about music on the Nodcast. It's always this like super heavy gravitas fucking dark existential freight. But I'm obviously keen on music. I mean, the fuck did I do with my life? But I'm often hard on death metal, for various reasons that have become apparent to anybody that's watched this thing. I found a use for it. Not that I love tons of death metal. If I didn't, I wouldn't know enough about it to make fun of it sometimes. As I said, I remember the whole earache wave, the Southern Florida. That was happening when I was a kid. I got into that shit when it was happening. But I've been writing extensively the last like week or two because of this shit. What else? What else am I going to do? The studio got curtailed for the time being. And I can't listen to pop music while I write. But I've been listening to like Street Cleaner by Godflesh on like repeat, just going back and forth. And I realized what I've been working on is a piece of fiction, dark, horrible, visceral, ugly, dark fantasy type shit. And death metal's perfect as an ominous soundtrack with which to indulge in that sort of thing. It's just like the perfect fucking enabler for that. I just find what I like, pop it on repeat, and just writhe back and forth, typing as fast as I can. But somebody, a dear friend of mine, has sent me an email today, and I had mentioned a couple of these things, like the live streams and stuff like that. Now, this isn't his fault. This is a guy I know loves me, and I love him. But he said, hey, great to hear you're doing busy. Great to hear you're keeping busy. And I was kind of pinged by it, like piqued. And it's my own pride. But it was like, when you say something like, hey, good you're keeping busy, guy. It's sort of like, there's like an almost backhanded implication, like, with your devoid of meaning, empty, vacuous existence, it's good you're doing something, right? God loves a trier. That's how I took it. I was like, it kind of diminishes everything. I think I'm doing important shit, doesn't everybody? All right, where we at with this? We'll keep going. Deicide. Dude, everybody hated. What's the album with fucking Homage for Satan on it? Is that Stench of Redemption? I think that album's... people shit on that album. I love that fucking album. I can listen to it from beginning to end. When I'm in the mood. That's not something I'm going to pop on all the time, you can be sure. Sean, I do not need to check out any... I appreciate the video you sent me. I do not need to check out anything on the Black Death. That is like... I could narrate that video with the sound off. Devil's Advocate. Where we at? Brad Taylor says the French Foreign Legion has historically been highly successful. And he made a quit probably because there aren't any French people allowed in it. Well, you can be French and get in it, but Billy Moonbeam, I got to go on, brother. I got to tell you something in a second. You guys all have to check out Billy Moonbeam's new show. I'll put some links to it once it's up, but he's putting out a new video show, and I've seen pieces of it, and it's a fucking hoot. You have to check it out. I'll put stuff on the social media. You can check it out. But, yeah, the French Foreign Legion has this obstacle course down in, like, Cameroon or something like that. And they can do it in, like, they've taken, like, other special forces groups. It's like this really grueling, arduous obstacle course through the jungle, through, like, really, difficult to even move. They brought in other special forces, top-level guys, like SEAL teams. I don't know about Delta Force, but, like, and I don't know about Marsuk Marines or anything like that, but they brought in like Marines and stuff like that. Generally takes all other special forces 8 hours. French Foreign Legion can do it in an hour and a half. They're actually not fucking around. They are truly an elite military force. I find Drugstore Cowboy, I find the Napoleonic Wars fascinating. I only got into them relatively recently. Did I send a shout out to Robert Lawrence? I was only sort of conversant in them obliquely. Napoleon was a military genius. There's no doubt about it. Where we at? Oh, thank you, Denied. I hope Moose makes a cameo. Nico MG. What's going on? Jason Weber. What's going on, brother? My love to you too. Jack Phillips says death metal lyrics are generally too fucking hokey for me to take serious. Indeed. That's generally my problem with it. But with the fiction I've been writing, I'm not paying attention to the lyrics. I'm just looking for an atmosphere. And it has hitherto been perfect, but it's certain kinds. Like Godflesh is all, dum 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 ga gung 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 gung, very apocalyptic, upbeat stuff. I figured Celtic Frost would be a fucking natural. I was like, I'm putting on fucking Morbid Tales. It depends on the song. I could put Procreation of the Wicked on fucking loop and type my ass off for 8 hours straight. But like Gilda Ray, Crips of Rays, with that punk rock, that fucking D beat, the like discharge punk beat, no, jerks me right out of it. It needs to be really droning, and it could be fast. Like for instance, the other night I listened to Arise. I know that's not death metal, but I listened to Arise by Sepultura, for like 4 hours straight on loop, and wrote the whole time. Corey, I did not get a chance to check out Until the Light Takes Us yet. I am certainly going to. Yeah, Jason Beluski, that's true. They've tightened up. And they give you a new name and a new identity. And after a couple of years, they give you citizenship in France. And if you live to retirement, there's this tiny little gated community somewhere in France itself where you can go and retire, and they give you a house. If you make it like a little cottage, it's for the Legion retirement. Oh, Billy, you got to let me know when it's going up. You guys got to check that out. Billy Moonbeat Show made me fucking laugh. But yeah, they let you retire to this little gated cottage community with all the other old French Legionnaire guys. And it is real difficult to get into. And I guess its discipline is ridiculous. I watched a documentary on him one time, and even just like ironing a shirt, I wouldn't be able to do it. Kick me right out. No, Napoleon was not actually super short, Cody Joe. It's Cody Joe, what's up? He was like average height, maybe a little on the short side, but he wasn't like circus midget short or nothing. Everybody implies he's like 4'9", 4'9" or something like that. He wasn't. It's funny. Well, somebody said Glenn Benton walked by me and the temp dropped 10 degrees. Blood for Death asked, what happened to the Pineapple Scally? I fucking lost it on tour with Ramallah. Yeah, bummed me out. I just left it somewhere. I do shit like that unless I like stick it in the right pocket. Blake Patrick says my toddler loves Amon Amath. Neath Remains. That is indeed a great fucking album. Yeah, Jason Blue says a lot of criminals in. Well, that was the whole mystery of the French Foreign Legion. If you could get there, and if they take you, you wouldn't be extradited. If you were a criminal, you could be wanted for anything because they'd give you a new identity. And but no, the reason so few retire is it's difficult. It's not easy to stay in there. Yeah, but 90%, like 9 out of 10. Yeah, it's like it's real high washout rate. It's also super monotonous too. It's not like, like the military in general. It's not all jumping out of helicopters and doing Rambo shit. It's mostly grinding monotony. That's what prepares you to, be an elite military unit, discipline, and acting as a group and not an individual. Don Grogan, Ontario in the motherfucking house. Cody Joe's been listening to Soft Cell a lot, Bad Brains, and DOA. That's a good mix. Mike Lyon says, I miss your happy face. That's funny. All right, where we at? Somebody had asked me to say something about the Spanish influenza epidemic. Sean O'Brien had of World War One. It happened in 1918. That's when it peaked. The reason I think we are so on top this time, it took us a while to get there, but are so on top of the fucking social distancing with this particular pandemic is they learned the hard way in 1918. We were at war with the Imperial Deutsches Heer, German army, German Empire, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. We were fighting on behalf of the French and the British, the collective allies. And the government knew that there was a really virulent flu epidemic raging. And they allowed a bunch of parades to go on. And I saw pictures, I'll put them on the social media, pictures of these parades that the government willingly let go on. Even knowing the impact it might have, because during wartime, you don't want to show any weakness. You don't want to alarm the population, a whole bunch of reasons. I'm not assessing it ethically. I think it's ethically abhorrent to let something like that go on knowingly. But it caused explosions in Philadelphia and New York of contagion. And at the height of it, I'm going to get the number. I'll be in the ballpark. In a 2-week period after these parades, when it really exploded in Philadelphia and New York City, either 400, 600, or 800,000 people died within a 2-week period. And that's the most, that would be massive right fucking now. Even right now, even the worst case projections are nowhere near that much. And so knock on wood, but pray they don't. But it wasn't even in the newspapers. During that 2-week period, the number one news story on the East Coast while this fucking Holocaust is happening were the Jersey Shore shock attacks, where 3 people were killed. 400,000 deaths did not make the news. Instead, it was about some shock attacks in the Jersey Shore. And that was not on accident. The government didn't want the epidemic to be reported because we were at war. Sounds familiar, right? Somebody had asked me to talk about that. All right, so where we at? Still flying by. Jump back in and out. I do say album sometimes. I do. That's funny. I think Dakia, I think Neurosis is like the original Atmosphere band. I found it interesting too that live, they were one of the first bands that would play to like a click track live. That's very common now. Even Blood for Blood, from like 2004 on, played to a click track. The drummer did. We didn't. But Neurosis used to, if what I've heard is correct, used to play to a click track. They did it really early. They played their albums in specific order because they picked the album order to proceed with a certain atmosphere. And live, they would play the albums in the exact order and sync to it. As part of their live show, they would have video and movies playing that were part of the atmosphere. Get, like the total package experience. Bloody Roots, great fucking song, great fucking album. Roots was indeed amazing. I still listen to at least the song Roots constantly. All right, where we at? Hold on. Making sure I didn't miss nobody. Did I miss anything else? While I'm scrolling through here, hit like and hit subscribe. Jamie S. Yes, sort of. Jamie S says, "Oh man, I remember that video on the Serenity CD talking about everything being pieced together. Not in the way you think. Just for years, back in the day, studio technology has changed ridiculously. I mean, it's night and day from what it was when I started. Now you can record an album. In fact, most of the modern metal bands do record their albums on their computer in a bedroom. Like Killswitch Engage does that. You'll see makings of the album with them sitting in that guy's room, the main guy, laying guitar tracks and shit like that. Back in the day, you couldn't fucking do that. When I started recording, Pro Tools wasn't even really a thing yet. I mean, yeah, it did exist. The first major album recorded on Pro Tools was on Nevermind by Nirvana. That was what really ushered in the age of Pro Tools. Butch Vig was the guy who produced Nevermind, and he did that album on Pro Tools. So that got it on everybody's radar. But Blood for Blood started recording at the Outpost in like 95. And back then, at that point, he didn't even have automation on the board yet. He had a Trident 24-channel board. And I'd have to help him do moves throughout the song, like fades and stuff like that. Then about a year, next recording, that was on the Hurt You demo, I would stand there and do tweaks at we'd watch the clock and do moves. Then he got automation. Then everything, that's not Pro Tools. That just means the board's automated. You could program in moves. You'd watch the faders move and shit while the song is being mixed. And then eventually around, it was after 2000, me and Ken Casey from the Dropkicks, because both our bands, Blood for Blood and Sinners and Saints, which had just started recording at that point, and Ken Casey from the Dropkicks, all recorded at the Outpost still at that point. So we went to Ken with like an ultimatum, like, it was bullshit. I was going to keep going to I don't know if Ken was serious, but I was going to keep going to the Outpost as long as Jim was working. Jim was my boy, and that dude was like Weapon X. Like, that guy was my secret weapon. But we gave him an ultimatum: either get Pro Tools or we're going somewhere else. I'm glad he didn't call my bluff. He got Pro Tools. Oh, Say Trace asked about that documentary that somebody was doing on me. That was my brother's girlfriend at the time, Brittany. I still see her from time to time. I saw her at the Bruisers' last show that Ramallah played. She's doing great. I asked her not to put that out. That was me only like a year or two after, early January 2007. I came back to Boston, went underground. I don't know, most of you probably familiar with this. Went underground for a couple of years to get sober and get sane, or ultimately blow my head off. I didn't blow my head off. I got sober and sane, but this was early on in that. And I wanted to help her with the project, but I didn't want it to go public because I wasn't really sure of where I was at. And I was on a massive amount of psych meds at that time, and I got up to about 250 fucking pounds. Serious as a heart attack. I'll find a picture and put it up. I was a monster. I was a fucking behemoth, and it was purely from atypical antipsychotics. I'm not psychotic. They gave it to me for bipolar. But I got real fat, so I don't particularly want that video going up. Bonnie Erickson asks about old Sepultura footage, garbage fires in the crowd in Russia. Yeah, they used to do that. They did that at like the Monsters of Rock. Those were like some of the first big concerts. They used to do that. What was the big thrash? If Chris is here, if Chris Lyons is here, he'd remember it. It was one like Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth. Not the big four. That was later. There was a thrash tour. They would make these huge bonfires. Motorhead, Halloween. Maybe it was the Headbangers Ball tour, but I thought it was like Titans or something. I don't know. These headlines. Anthony Cesanara says, these new headlines sound like a 90s hardcore lineup. Pandemic, social distancing, and headlining is COVID-19. Yep. Jason Beluski says, every time Rob lights up on screen, I do. Be careful, you'll get nicotine poisoning. I actually am down to, believe it or not, between a half a pack and 15 cigarettes a day. I just wait. If I know I'm doing a video, I don't smoke all day because I know I'm gonna when I get on the video. Juliet Shea, gang vocals on Serenity was fun. Oh my God! Is this fucking Julian? Holy shit, guy! How the fuck have you been? I used to call Julian had the best fucking names for. He used to. Can I tell him, Julian, about how you used to talk to your girlfriend? Because it used to make me fucking laugh. It was like fun, friendly banter, but she'd say something and be like, "Shut your Julian pleaser." He'd be like, "I didn't ask you to open your cock holster." It wasn't mean. The dude's like the nicest guy on earth. There's something I'd like to ask you, Julian, but I don't know if it would make you uncomfortable. Are you still drinking? That's all I wanted to ask. Sonny O'Connor, what's up from Nebraska? Jerry L says, switch to vaping. My doctor told me to do it. Carpet bag of 14 milligrams of Suboxone a day. Better than the other stuff, for certain. Billy Moonbeam's going to send me a vape. Nico asked about the Hatebreed show. I just saw that had popped up too. I didn't know it had just popped up. Yes, indeed, we were there. Yes. Chris Lyons is here. He would remember that as well. Yeah, that show was what caused the distance between Boston and Connecticut for a couple of years, and Hatebreed and Blood for Blood not playing shows for a while. That show happened in like '94, and it was all squashed by like '96 or '97. But there are a couple, and then maybe '98 at the latest. But it's all water under the bridge. But yeah, I was there, and it was wild. And let me assure you of something: Clash of the Titans. That's the name of the Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Alice in Chains. That's right, Alice in Chains opened it. Nieminen says, greetings and salutations. What's going on, brother? What the fuck were we just talking about? Most of the horrible stuff. You're not seeing, on that video of that brawl, you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing anything. All of it takes place off that camera because the people had the camera set up and then they ran and just left the camera on. But you can hear some of it. Somebody got thrown over the balcony into the drums. That's the big crashing cymbal sound you hear at one point, kicked unconscious and thrown over a railing. Into a set of drums 20 feet down. It was a wild night. It was wild. I'm glad to hear that, Julian. We used to drink hard. Don Grogan says 7 year no smoke's harder to quit than coke. Believe that. Oh, you saw that tour in the Baltimore Arena? Yes. My doctor said the hysteria with vaping is largely that young kids do it, and because they're not the nicotine levels, they don't know what they're doing, and they're not measured right. It's not like FDA approved. So it'll say it has like 3 nanoliters of nicotine in it. It might be 20. It might be none. And kids go nuts anyway. And they got those ones now that got the machine in them, the cyclotron or whatever the fuck you call it, that goes whoop and fires it down your throat. I could see a kid dosing themselves. Maurice Goutreau asks, are there any of the Fuck Fred Durst shirts still around? Oh, I don't know. We haven't made them. We hadn't, even when Blood for Blood came back for a couple of years back in the early 2010s, we hadn't made them for a decade at that point. That was like a 90s thing. I see them around sometimes. We sold a lot of them fucking shirts. A lot of them. Thank you, Bobby. Bob Dylan says, wishing you all the best. He's jumping. Dr. Delio, oh, you just asked a question that's a key to my heart. Did I play Bloodborne? Dude, I lived Bloodborne. Lived it. I haven't touched a video game in like 8 months. But if I do, it's Bloodborne or the game I made everybody call me Geralt. I wouldn't answer people unless they said Geralt or called me the White Wolf. Witcher 3 and all the Dark Souls and Demon Souls. I played them to death. Once I started playing the Soulsborne's game, other than Witcher 3, I can't play any other games. I can only play Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls, or fucking Bloodborne. I pray they're coming with another Bloodborne. I didn't play the Samurai one. I forget what it's called. Sekiro or something like that. Something like that. Somebody, Carpetbagger asked, what was the worst show you ever played for violence, like violence in the crowd or violent show? I would have to give that like a lot of thought, because there's a lot of variables too. Do you mean like consistently from start to finish? Most violent show, some of the real violent ones get shut down real quick, or do you mean something truly dreadful happening that just, is like stands out? We played a show in Lewiston, Maine once that was horrific. We were on it was on a second floor, the back of this bar, and to get out of the bar, you had to cut all the way through the bar, past the bathrooms, and then there was this really narrow stairway down, really narrow, and this brawl kicked off, and it was so savage. There was blood on the ceiling, and blood on the ceiling in the stairwell. That's got to be like that. You're talking, when it gets like that, you're talking like arterial. I mean, that means somebody's really fucked up, and people were really fucked up. People were hang jumping 2.5 stories. The windows to the outside were behind the stage. People were climbing over us while we were trying to play and hang jumping down 2.5 stories into the parking lot to escape what was going on, because they didn't want to try to make the run down the stairs, because it was like a choke point. It was like people trying to escape a burning building. That was really bad. We were banned forever. We never went back. We were banned from the entire state of Maine for a long time, but we'd come up and play Zoots and fuck. What was the other one? Zoots had some of the worst shows. Most crazy. I'm sorry, I'm lost in these Jungian images of savage fucking violence. I missed something. Fucking A. 777 King of Kings 777 says, today is my first official year of not drinking. Anniversary date. Fucking congratulations, man. I will tell you what, sometimes indifferent about it. I shouldn't be. I am truly, 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 truly grateful to be fucking sober right now. No fucking around. I was talking to my doctor. I had to do a call-in. They had scheduled it without me knowing. I'll make it quick. About a week and a half ago, they had scheduled a doctor's appointment for me. So I called up and was like, there's like a fucking pandemic going on. I'm not fucking coming down there to pee in a fucking cup. And they were like, oh. And I'm like, what do you mean, oh? Duh. And my doctor called me and was like, no, I just wanted to do a phone call-in check-in. And he was, asking about my sobriety and shit. And I said, dude, it's ironclad right now. I'm not even thinking about drugs. Like, it is not even on my fucking radar, which can be dangerous in its own right. But I said, he said, why? And I said, well, a million reasons. I've kind of pulled out of the funk I was in for about a year. Dealt with some things, been doing a lot of stuff with my life as best I can. And I said, and if I'm not letting the Instacart grocery person onto the property, like, they on into the house or going near anybody, I'm not bringing some scumbag drug dealer into my fucking family's proximity. Fuck that. And he said, well, I wish there were more people with your attitude, because I guess there's still a lot of people that he deals with. It's my primary care physician in the town I grew up in, Charlestown. There's a lot of dope down there. It has been since the 90s. That's when it started in Charlestown. It started in the 90s. That's when the heroin quake started. I don't envy those. He's like, he had said, I wish other people thought the way you did. I said, well, doctor, if they didn't know this pandemic was going to happen, if they got a 4 fucking gram a day fentanyl habit, they don't have any choice. They got to go out and get it. Like, they're not going to just kick that. It's sad. The whole thing bummed me out, but I'm glad I'm where I'm at. I'm glad I'm where I'm at. Very grateful to be right here talking to you guys right now. All right, so this is a quick side one, and I didn't do any prep on this. I just wrote it down. A couple of people have been asking me repeatedly to tell the story of the junkie rats and the drunk monkeys, the shit-faced monkeys from the island of St. Kitt and Cabo. So I will tell this. It's a bit of this would be normally like a Nodcast segment. One of my buddies in the program when I first got clean in South Boston, he's like got a doctorate, not a doctorate. He's going for his doctorate. At the time, he was a master. He had a master's of molecular biology. I'm not going to mention his name. Make up a fake name for him. What's like an easy name to remember? We'll call him Ignatius. My buddy Ignatius worked for McLean Hospital, and they were doing a study, drug study on rats. And it's ironic because they hired him to work on this study. And he was actually shooting drugs at the time of doing this study. It didn't interfere with his work, at least not in any way that I'm aware of. He was just part of a larger team. He was part of a team. It's a team of researchers working on this project with junkie rats. What they basically did was, this was the test. And this is why when people talk about willpower with drug use, I'm like, suck my fucking dick. Weak people. Yeah. Well, we'll get to this. What's the one biological imperative in nature? Okay, we're talking about nature here. That overrides self-preservation. What is the one biological imperative that overrides self-preservation in the natural world? I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about animals. Instinct. The parental bond. An animal, humans too, but an animal will risk their own life on behalf of their offspring. Mama bear will, attack people to protect the cubs, or attack anything to protect the cubs. Normally, self-preservation comes first. So the biological imperative to protect your offspring is hardwired. An animal doesn't have free will. An animal has instinct. But we've seen repeatedly in nature that animals, and never mind human beings will do this as well. You know the stories of like an old grandmother lifting a car, having the superhuman motivation to lift like a car off a pinned grandchild after like a car accident or something like that, or like a mom running into a burning building to save her kids. We life is littered with these fucking stories. Well, they took these. So the maternal instinct is an incredibly powerful, instinctive biological imperative. So they did this study where they hooked a bunch of female rats' brains out. I'm going to get the details a little bit wrong. Billy Moonbeam says, junkie rats? Sounds like my bank robbery case. Ooh, dude. Hell yeah. If you want to hear the story of that, check out the Nodcast on this channel titled 18 Years in Prison for a Crime He Didn't Commit. That's Billy Moonbeam. That's the guy who's doing the upcoming show that I'm telling you all about that you got to check out because it's a fucking scream. It's a riot. But this friend of mine, the hypothetical Ignatius, worked on a study at McLean Hospital where they basically took rats, and the rats' babies were in one. I'm going to get the details a little bit wrong, but the mechanism of action I'll get right. Rats had babies. Mama rats had babies, and they put the babies in one little compartment, and the rat could go suckle the babies and go find food and bring it back to the babies. Well, in another compartment, they had wired their brains so if they went over and touched, it was like a wire sticking out of their head or something. Again, I'm a little hazy on this, but basically the rat could go into another room and get injected with heroin at will up until the point, like, a couple of times a day or whatever. Once they got the rats strung out, 100% of the baby rats starved to death. The mothers never paid attention to them again. They only kept getting high. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you understand the point of this? It overrode. So they got these rats strung out on medical grade heroin, which is called diamorphine. There is a medical grade heroin that they keep in hospitals, diacetylmorphine. Its brand name is diamorphine. They got them hooked on pure diamorphine. And once the rats were hooked, none of them went back and took care of their babies ever again. it overrode the maternal instinct. So when people talk about willpower when it comes to drug abuse, fuck you. That, to me, that study says it all. That it is literally overriding all biological imperatives. And I can tell you from personal experience that it damn well does. There's another example of this, another case of... Oh, and I got to tell you something funny, too. When they were done with the experiments, when the experiments was over, my buddy Ignatius had to take the rats and lop their heads off. If they had to save their bodies, it's part of the experiment. I'm not making an ethical judgment on this. This is just what happened. They had to save the rats' brains and their blood, and they would, save them, samples, so that he would have to lop their heads off with this fucking... You ever see the thing you cut mass amounts of paper with? It looks like you put paper on it, and it's got the big swing blade, and you smack it down, and he had to use that. And I was like, you had to do that? And he's like, yeah, and I had to catch their blood. And at least something just happened. This thing just tanked for a second. Fuck. This is my fucking Hellbound Hitman shirt. Wear it all the time. In my back, where did I cut off? It says I'm back now. Where did I lose it? Dewey Rage, what's going on, brother? Dewey, my Dewey? How you been? Where did it cut off? Yeah, it did. No, the kilobytes per second dropped off. Did I lose anything? Like, anybody remember where I cut off? That bums me the fuck out, right in the middle of my fucking story. Well, to support that fucking, there's this island, St. Kitt, down in the Caribbean, that got monkeys on it. I don't think they were born there. I think they got accidentally transplanted there. And, the tourists drink out on the courtyards and the decks and stuff like that. And, they leave their drinks around. Like it's like a beachfront fucking resort. Like, people sit around and the monkeys are right there. It's part of the experience. Like some of the fucking hotels down there advertise that they got monkeys that will come down and, well, about 70% of the monkeys, 50 to 70%, the monkeys, after people get up and leave their tables, the monkeys come running over, eat the food, and drink their drinks. Well, most of the drinks are fucking high alcohol, like mixed drinks. So the monkeys come over and start drinking. They all drink the booze. About 50% of them, 50 to 70% of them become alcoholics. And as long as the alcohol is available, which it is every day, a good percentage of them starve to death. They never fuck again. They never take care of their kids again. They stop eating. They just go after the fucking booze, and they spend their days completely shit-faced. The drunk monkeys of fucking St. Kitt. And there's another one in Cabo, down near Mexico, where something similar happens. It's just an example of the God forces you're toying with addiction. It overrides biological impulse, biological imperative. You stop caring about anything. Oh, good, you caught the part about the rats with the wigs, because that was kind of my fucking, that was like the payoff to the fucking story. But a couple of people had been asking me about that for quite a while. Because I'd mentioned it on a Nodcast or something and forgot to fill it in. All right, making sure I didn't... Oh, I see a name. Ryan McKay. What's going on, brother? Indeed, fuck heroin. Fuck it. Me and Nathan, Hellbound Hyena, often joke that heroin is like that Looney Tunes ex-girlfriend that cleaned out your bank account, fucked all your friends, got you arrested, thrown in jail, got a restraining order against you, wrecked your fucking whole fucking life, and you're glad she's out of your life, but you wouldn't trade the sex for nothing because she used to give you a rim job without even asking. That is a good metaphor. Dave Jansen, what's going on, brother? Dave Jansen's. Roll Horman says, come on, all you good rats. Johnny Val says, got any jots for sale? That made me, that was fucking awesome. You got to check out the Hitman Chronicles as well. That's something else. That's not Billy. That's just somebody Billy knows. He's not somebody you want to know. But it's all on YouTube. You could find them connected. I put all the links on the 18 Years for Crime You Didn't Commit Nodcast. All the links are in the text down there. So if you go to the page, you can find it. Galen Burke II says, I worked in healthcare for 15 years in an OR. This is the first time I've seen doctors scared. Yes, my doctor, who happens to be an epidemiologist, is alarmed. It's not, Boston isn't crushed yet. When I spoke to him a couple of days ago, he said the Mass General had 180 cases that were COVID, and about 80 of them were really, really serious, meaning ICU. That's not nearly as bad as like Elmhurst Hospital down in Queens. All right, still working. All right, good. Oh. Samuel Jackson, what's going on, bro? Opie DeFore, what's going on, brother? Excuse me. Jay Kenny, 5x5. I missed somebody's fucking name. I hate it when I miss. John Romano, Vive la France. Yeah, my point with that shit was just that animals have no will, and they have no ethical. They don't evaluate anything ethically. So if you're overriding an animal's self-preservation, that is a potent force or phenomenon you're dabbling with. Johnny says, Johnny Disaster, what's going on, brother? It's getting bad down there. Johnny Disaster from Cry Havoc says he works in a hospital, said it's getting really bad. You work in a cancer unit, right? God bless you for what you do. Bobby C says, have you seen any of the Dark Side of the Ring series? Glad you asked that. I still find, I watched 777 King of Kings says the one on New Jack and Chris Benoit. I saw the Benoit one. The New Jack one I didn't. I'm really familiar with New Jack. I don't watch wrestling and haven't in years, but I follow the business because I find the business fascinating and always have. I watched wrestling when I was a kid. Another reason that's why I had Brody King on the podcast, on the Nodcast or whatever, because I find that whole life so fascinating. You can find that episode as well. I think it's titled Special Guest Brody King or some shit like that. But I did see the Benoit one. It was on TV. My stepfather was watching. I happened to stand in and watch it for a while. What a mess that was. New Jack, I'm super familiar with. Total fucking lunatic. Total fucking lunatic for real. Yeah, it kind of all started with what was that? Beyond the Mat, right? Was that the name of it? I find that stuff fascinating. The behind the scenes stuff. It's such an odd business. And I also was really into wrestling because it's Japanese strong style wrestling and pancrase and stuff like that is in the DNA of MMA. MMA kind of came from wrestling, which is odd because originally wrestling was a form back in the day when it wasn't staged. It was a form of MMA, and then it became this staged thing, and then it produced genuine fighting again. Cody Joe says, fuck alcohol too. Yeah. In a lot of ways, Ryan McKay says a bitch called dope. Ryan McKay also says alcohol is the worst thing to watch someone die from. Rest in peace, Dad. My condolences, Ryan. Sincerely, to you and your family, yes. It is a nightmare watching somebody die of that and live of that. I still think, in many ways, alcohol is the most destructive drug. Not just because it's so fucking pervasive and ubiquitous, it's like everywhere and insidious, but because heroin addicts are unpredictable, but they're unpredictable in very predictable ways. They just want more of the drug. Alcohol is a disinhibitor. 90% of the horrible shit I've fucking seen, been party to, witnessed, or been involved in, involved alcohol and people making terrible, uncharacteristically stupid decisions when drunk. All you gotta fucking do is watch that live PD shit. That is like a nonstop advertisement. Every time I watch that, because it's on in my house all the time. I don't watch TV, but the TV's on all the time, and live PD's often on. My folks watch it. Every time I watch that, I'm like, this is like a 24/7 reminder of why I don't drink anymore. You watch some guy get cuffed, right? Or he's getting cuffed for a child support warrant. He's going to go to jail for the night, get bailed out the next day, and whatever. All of a sudden, because he's drunk, he suddenly bites the cop's cheek. Now life's over. Now it's life's over. You know, he went from like a misdemeanor, and it's the booze. People just doing nonsensical shit. I really think alcohol is like, I'm not making the judgment call like it's worse. They're all horrible. I'm not doing the junkie hierarchy, like dust mops are worse than fucking, you know, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, I've seen alcohol. Johnny says, watching Pops kill himself as we speak. I am fucking sorry to hear that, Johnny. It breaks my heart. Alcohol is just very destructive. It's very destructive. It also dissolves the body. Heroin doesn't do anything to you except kill you sometimes. That just means it just stops your heart if you do too much of it. And it changes your behavior in that you need it, and you'll do stupid shit to get it. But it doesn't destroy your liver. It doesn't destroy your pancreas. It doesn't give you accretive brain damage. You know, it doesn't diminish cognitive ability over the years. It doesn't cause neuropathy. It doesn't do any of those things. It either just kills you or puts you in prison because you do stupid shit to get it. Alcohol does all these things. It's just a very destructive drug. And like I said, I'm not saying it's morally worse. Addiction's addiction, period. A drug is a drug is a drug. There's a lot of really dark freight that accompanies. I'm talking about even outside of direct impact on just the, you know, I don't know. How many kids have been beaten, had child abuse because the father drank? You know, when the father was sober, he didn't beat on the kids, but the minute he had a few in him, he started whipping ass on the kids. That's the type of dark attendant stuff that goes with alcohol. I just hate it. And I'll tell you this, I'll bring it back to me because I hate sermonizing. I'll put it this way. For 15 to 17 years before I got banged up from basically age 11 until about age 25, I was a degenerate alcoholic. Then I got into opiates, which ground my life up so fast that I basically had like a 3-year run with opiates. And then from my 30s, I had almost like late 20s. By 28, I had about I did about a year and a half to 2 years clean. Got fucked up in Detroit for a very short, very potent spasm, like a relapse. Lasted about 6 months, but man, was I fucked up. Then I had a little under 10 years, and then I had that last run. So the opiate episode was actually kind of narrow. The alcohol was a long stretch. That was the most wretched time of my life, not the opiate time period. That was a different kind of hell. That's like being a slave to something. But the time period that I was chronically shit-faced and drunk was the most wretched time in my life. It was just wretched. There's like a misery involved with that. There's misery with heroin too. Make no mistake, but there was like this. Yeah, it was my experience with alcohol. That was just like a very wretched time. No joy, no joy. Oh man, that is an ugly statement, Bradford. Bradford said, "I can't tell if you're kidding or not." Said, "Kind of glad Dad died before he had a chance to disappoint me." That is a very fey way to look at things. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, I can be similarly sardonic and cynical as well. Certainly not beyond me. Oh, Johnny, I get what you're saying. I didn't know what that, out of context, I didn't know what that statement meant. I'm sorry to hear that. Last time I saw Lenny Carpetbagger asked, when was the last time I saw Lenny? Was when Ramallah played at the end of 2018. We played Wreck the Halls with the Street Dogs. It was great seeing him, man. He was legit so good to me, it was ridiculous. He was like, if you need to get out of here, because he knew I had just cleaned up. He knew that I had just had the episode like 3 months earlier where I got out of rehab and shit. He's like, if you need anything, if we need to get the fuck out of here, if you need to take a walk, just let me know. He's just mad fucking cool, man. I love that dude anyway. I mean, as a musician, I love and respect him, but he's also a really good dude. Judge Hammers 960, what's going on, brother, asks, what's up with the last gasp of street rock and roll? I've been getting hit with this a lot. I'm bound by a legal non-disclosure to I can't discuss the specifics. We're making the vinyl for it right now. It's coming back, and we're going to promote it. As you know, as many of you know, I haven't breathed a word about that album. There's reasons for that I can't get into. But the album, we're going to do vinyl merch and get the songs up, everything. We're just going to promote it, and I'll tell the story of it. I'm not going to do it right now because we're already an hour in, and I'm going to wrap this up relatively shortly. We can go as long as you want. Still got like over 100 people in here, but all that's coming. But it is down right now. There's reasons for that. I just can't talk about them, but it is coming. I mean, very soon. This isn't one of those hypothetical Rob Lind, like, oh, it's coming, and it happens like 9 years later. We're doing all this right now, so I just wanted to say something about it. Ryan McKay says alcohol is socially acceptable, and that's the biggest problem. Yes. I agree with that. Carrie, I am fucking sorry to hear that. Carrie was replying to somebody else and said, I weaned myself off Suboxone and tried to commit suicide. That's how bad the withdrawal was. It's the, my understanding, is that it's the length of the withdrawal that makes it so incredibly daunting. I mean, Suboxone has a ridiculous half-life. In some people, the half-life is 172 hours. That is, in some people, that's rare, but it's possible. 172 hours, that's fucking insane. Lenny's a national treasure. I would agree. It's coming. Yes, we're gonna try to do that too, Johnny. Make some CDs. I hope to return to Kerry because this thing flies by. That's why you see me fly off in different topics. I pray you are doing better. I pray you're doing better. I know some people that have had real problems coming off that, and they prescribe it in such massive doses. They're now going the other way with it. For a long time, they were withholding it from people, making it very difficult. Now, you'll have somebody that had a month on Vicodin because of fucking wisdom teeth, and they'll put them on Suboxone in a big dose too. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Just stop giving them, like, wean them down. They were doing 2 Vicodin a day. What are you putting them on Suboxone for? Dr. Hensley says, my knuckles are still bruised 8 years later from punching the walls coming off methadone. Yeah, dude, that's no... this is recovery-oriented, so I don't mind talking about it. For a long time, I've been trying to stay away from gratuitous drug stories, like Hunter S. Thompson-type stories, because I got a million of them. We all do. But I'm trying to stay away from them. But that's no joke. I used to, until I collided with fentanyl a year and a few months ago, I used to say I would rather have a monster heroin habit, have to kick a monster heroin habit, than have to kick a mild methadone habit. Because again, you got that fucking half-life, and it's just excruciating. It lasts so long. Now that I had experience with fentanyl, I'm going to put methadone second tier down. Because in hindsight, I'm glad that my friends, God bless them, Ian and Jimmy, thank you guys, Al Bar too, got me into rehab. Because in hindsight, that episode, I don't think I would have been able to do that on my own. I was truly fucked up. I mean, yeah, I was stuck. That's a good way to put it. A better way to put it, maybe. Steve John says, I get here 3 minutes late. I feel like I missed everything. Well, we're not leaving yet. We got a little bit of time. Spot the Fook. Just got here. YouTube won't give me the fucking reminders. Oh, dude, I don't know what to say about that. I do post the stuff on the social media, like the Facebook and shit like that. But Facebook's been suppressing my reach for reasons I mentioned, which is why I'm trying to get everybody to join the channel, because then I can go directly to you. But if YouTube is mercurial, it's capricious. Like I don't get alerts sometimes. It's fucked up. Bobby Beretta, how are you doing, man? I saw you in the last thread, meant to say something, and I sent a shout out to you, but I hope you're hanging in there, man. I am really glad to see you here. I hadn't seen you for a while, and it was making me nervous. Dylan Tretton asked if there's any way to listen to Last Gasp in the meantime. I hadn't been able to find it. Right now, I don't see it anywhere. Okay, this jumped again. Sorry, guys. That's why I lost it. Yes. Johan Nilsson, thank you. Thank you. What part of Sweden? That's where my family's from. My father's side. They're from Linköping. They came here in the early 1900s. It was funny. We got pulled over. Blood for Blood and the Bruisers were touring Europe. We were in Sweden. We were in this fucking long highway, like driving through the fjords. It was like desolate. It was all like ice. And we got pulled over. There was nobody else on the highway. And these two cop cars came up, got in front of the vans and pulled us over. Like it was like almost like a military action. Jesus, there might have been a helicopter involved too. But eventually, after a few minutes, like 20 cop cars there. This is in Sweden. Not 20, but there were like 4, maybe. And it was a man and a woman, the main cops, that they dragged us all out of the van. The other cops, they were, this man and a woman officer dragged us all out of the van. Both vans, lined us all up. The Bruisers and Blood for Blood and our road guys and everything. The other cops tore through the vans looking for stuff. They collected all of our fucking passports. And they're being real unfriendly. Real unfriendly. They're like not saying anything, matching faces to names. And they get to my passport and I'm down the end of the line. They're like, Lind? Lind? Who's Lind? I raise my hand and they're like, from Sweden? And I said, well, no, I'm from the U.S. I said, my family, yeah, from Sweden. They're like, you Swedish? I said, yes. And they started like nudging each other like, oh, look at that, like all friendly. And they give the passports back. All of a sudden, they're wicked nice. And I start talking to them, and they're like, what part? When did you come here? You're asking the family stuff, shit like that. I didn't tell them that my great uncle was a headbreaker for the Union named Swede Lind. That's still remembered to this day. He was an enforcer for the Union. He was a mob guy, basically. Swede Lind. I didn't tell them that, but they got real friendly with me. And I was weirded out. I'm like, you guys are that happy that I'm from here? Like, something in America, nobody would care about that. But I said, so why'd you guys pull us over? It seemed like you guys, like, this was like planned. They said, yeah, he said, yes, we saw you drive through town. We call ahead. Next town, we plan this trap. I said, why? They said, well, we see all your tattoos and, you know, you guys kind of mean looking. We think you guys are either, you know, like white power band, right? You know, or maybe, you know, like black metal band. And, you know, like those things are not very popular in Sweden. We don't like those things. So, you know, we stop you to see if you have any drugs or whatever. I wanted to be like, no, we're not white power or fucking black metal. We're probably more criminals. But this was in the 90s, so there was no drugs or anything like that. I mean, there might have been. What I'm saying is I wasn't on drugs then. That was still when I was just drinking. But I thought it was so funny how they defrosted. Up until that point, they were acting like Waffen SS. They were like staring at us all hard, not talking. And they're like, who's Lind? You from Sweden? I was like, yeah, sure. It's the truth. But, all right, where we at? Is there anything else? We'll wrap this up in a few. We'll take a few more questions. Still not as long as the last one, so we're not going too far. Thank you, John. Oh, I saw that already. I'm sorry. Thank you, Steve. Home White Devil says, kratom. I think that's what you're saying, kratom. I had, there were a couple of guys in rehab that were in there for kratom. One of them had a real hard time kicking it. Mike asks, any chance of Sinners and Saints Ramallah tour in Europe ever happening? I would fucking love to do that. I've talked about that. All the bands have talked about doing that, like a combination. All right, let me say something. The reason I'm doing these live streams is because before this fucking shitstorm happened, I was booking shows to do spoken word and maybe some acoustic shit. Jason and I from Ramallah have talked about doing like a night where we do stuff from everything. Sinners and Saints, Ramallah, Blood for Blood, whatever. And then maybe do the spoken word with it. That's why I started doing these. I hope when things return to normal, if they ever do, I'm going to get back into that. But meantime, you know, this is the closest we can come. Timothy Benny says, what's going on, man? Draw from sub is hell, but worth it. Yeah, the freedom. Kerry says it was only 2 milligrams every 48 hours, 14-day minimal. Yep, that sounds right. There's a funny mechanism of action. I won't get lost in this. I'll try to stay away from it. But Suboxone, buprenorphine, the active ingredient, it has a very funny. What would the word be? Its pharmacology is very funny. The first milligram, it only agonizes up to about 40% of the cells. It's only a partial agonist. 90% of that activity is in the first milligram. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything after that, if you take 20 milligrams, take 60 milligrams, it's only incrementally agonizing the last like 10% of its bioavailability. So that last milligram is why people get down and don't have a problem weaning down. Then they get to 1 milligram and they get stuck because it's all in that 1 milligram. All the activity in your brain. It's a fucking bitch. And Anthony Christopher Cesanaro asked, anyone ever go into precipitated withdrawal from subs? You're damn tootin'. That was my entire fucking problem. That's why I ended up banged up on that short run Ramallah did with Cruel Hand. I had been trying to kick for the entire month prior. I would wait 70 hours, not that long, but I would wait up to 50 hours, sick as a motherfucker, not doing nothing, off the fentanyl, and I would take like a chip of Suboxone and get instantly kicked into precipitated withdrawals. That's why, in hindsight, I don't think I was going to be able to do that on my own, and I'm actually glad that I ended up in rehab. I mean, I don't want to belabor this stuff, but this is recovery oriented. It's not, wanton. I'm glad you're doing better, Kerry. I'm glad. Scott Smith said I was weaning off methadone. A doc gave me Suboxone. That's horrible. I am fucking sorry to hear that. You got to wait like minimum like 120 hours off of methadone before you can even put a shred of fucking sub in your system. They say 72 hours. I don't buy it. I think you got to wait longer than that. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, mainline. And I never mainline subs, ever. I was too scared of them. Oh, yeah, that sounds right. Aggie Hensley says, I went into a pause when withdrawing. Didn't even start for like a month. I have heard crazy shit like that. It's not far-fetched. Bobby Beretta, I missed something from you, and I wanted to get to it. I'm sorry. Let me find it. Give me 1 second. Been on methadone since 2007. Definitely commit suicide if I ever had to go cold turkey. I hope you don't. I pray you don't. You can wean down. They can do that. I know you hit a wall if you've been on like 180 a day at around like 40, but they can get you through it because it's still 100% agonist. It doesn't have it's not as wonky as buprenorphine, but Alan Perry says standard 12-step shit. Don't glorify what you did when you were fucked up. It works. I agree. I'm starting to see that in other people too. The thing is, oftentimes with the Nodcast, I have told specific stories because they supported a larger point. But I don't. I'm for a long. Like I'll give you an example on the Nodcast episode back from rehab. If you go watch that, I will never watch that again. I'm leaving it up. I'm not taking it down. But I will never watch that episode again. The one titled "Back from Rehab," because I sound like such a dickhead. I sound like a drug addict. Because at the time, my brain chemistry was still co-opted by it. But if you watch the next 4, it's like time lapse, like watching somebody come back from the dark. Each one's a little more positive. Each one's a little less fucking, romanticizing the drugs and shit like that. So it is possible. That's why I leave it up. I want people to see the comeback. But Bobby had said, I don't know if Fent ever made it to San Diego because I didn't know didn't notice a difference. Well, after having like that 10 years or so clean, when I started using again, I didn't know at first what it was. I didn't know it was. I thought it was just usual. I could tell you there are differences. The withdrawal is way worse. Way worse. The other thing too is it's a really strong rush and no hang. You'll know that because you'll need it again like an hour later, and that's why people die, because the rush goes away really quick, but it's still strong in your system. Your brain's still saturated, so people want to hit again. That's why they die. So that's that. But maybe we can move on to something little brighter. Sean Cornelius, Suboxone alone has saved my life. Never needed 12-step meetings. That's just me. I understand. I did both. That first time in Boston. But I didn't start with the meetings. The meetings came later. I started at a dual diagnosis clinic at the Mass General in Boston for people with mental illness, because I'm bipolar, and addiction. And they told me something that resonated real strongly with me. And it sounds prosaic and somewhat simple. It sounds like duh. But I had never really framed it that way. And with that type of thing, you never know when something's going to click. You never know when a piece of information that you were already aware of just hits you the right way. They basically said, look, if you're dual diagnosed, if you're mentally ill or have some kind of mental illness or otherwise, psychiatric condition, and you're doing drugs, if you try to take care of the psychiatric condition, and you can be as fastidious about the psychiatric condition as you want, take the medication, go to the fucking therapy, do all that crap. But if you keep fucking around with drugs, you're going to fail. On the flip side, you can quit drugs totally, but if you do not contend with the comorbidity of the psychiatric condition, you're going to fail. You got to do both. It's a tall order, and it's like a double whammy, but tough shit. And I took that as like authoritative, and it was important to me. But I started there and then later got into meetings. Yeah, Kerry, that's precisely what's going on. People breeze through the first like 20 milligrams or whatever, and then they get down to that one. I knew a guy, I'm not going to mention his name, he's a friend of mine, who got down to the point where he had to do 1 milligram once a week. Once a week, that's it. He didn't spread it out. Once a week, he would put 1 milligram under his tongue. And he couldn't get off that for ages, because he didn't know what was going on. He didn't understand the pharmacology. Sean Cornelius, thank you for that comment too. I appreciate it. Did I freeze up again? It's a good comment, Bobby. Said to Sean O'Brien, if y'all have kids, please, no matter how much hell and headache they give you, make them understand that you love them. That is a damn good point. Yeah, I co-sign that. Peter Henkel. I do know the name. Where from? Dave Jansen's. I understand. I got a lot out of it. Yep. All right, you guys want to keep going, or you want to wrap this motherfucker up, and I'll see if I missed anything that I wanted to grab here. Oh, somebody had asked me, Kevin, how you doing, guy? Kevin Richmond, I'm glad to fucking hear you. I'm glad to see you here. Fucking glad, man. I'm glad. I hope you're still hanging in there. I hope. Something was gonna say. Oh, somebody had asked me. Sean O'Brien, I think, again, had asked me that he had finished Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shearer, and asked me, are there any other books on either World War II or the Holocaust, etc.? Yeah, I got two that you got to write down right now. Bloodlands by Timothy Snyder, Professor Timothy Snyder, and Black Earth, the history of the Holocaust. The Holocaust as history and warning. Magnum opuses, changed the way I looked at the entire situation. The entire history, changed everything. Fucking fascinating. Got to read them. I could give you a breakdown of them. I'm not going to. Just they are excellent. Hewitt Devil, you too, brother. Stay safe. Yeah, I'll keep going. Why the fuck not? I got the power out here now, so. Billy. Yeah, that's what's his name used to do that. He would take an 8 milligram, break the tip off a syringe, melt it, soak it up, and then administer it that way, so he knew exactly what he was doing. Peter, I'm not sure. I did know a few with that nickname. Scott Smith asked, what did you think about the job Billy Biohazard did when he filled in for me in Blood for Blood? When Blood for Blood went out without me back around 2011, they got a Billy from Biohazard to fill in for me. I got to admit, when I heard word that they had gotten Billy, I said to myself, ooh, that's slick. That's slick. That's smart. And also, the 14-year-old in me was like, dude, if you would, I'll put it this way. If you had told me at 14, when I was listening to Biohazard every fucking night of my life, if you had told me then, you're going to start a band someday, that eventually they're going to need to get the guy from Biohazard to fill in for you, I might have had a more happy fucking teenage experience. That was awesome. As far as the job he did, he's a monster guitar player. His voice no longer sounds like mine. Let me explain. What makes us tick is very similar. I was bored. It did nothing. Our voices his voice back in the day on like Urban Discipline and shit sounds very similar to my hardcore voice. But over the years, singing as much as he has, his range got way thicker. So it didn't have the same timbre. That was the one area where he kind of varied from me, but shit, if I saw him, Peter, I'd probably know who he was. I got instant recall with faces, not names so much sometimes. Bleak Forecast. Glad you're here. Coriel says, one time I went a 300 milligram a day morphine habit. I was turned away and told I should be fine. Now that I'm, fine after 72 hours. I've heard, they'll tell you crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. That's what happened. Chef can cook you. Yeah, his voice just shredded over the years. It's just way lower pitch now than it was. picking my way through a couple of these only because just, some things that I can't talk about yet, but yeah, for sure, I'd be curious. I'll check that out, Anthony. Charles Lieber. I'm sorry things slowed down. I'm just trying to catch up with the comments here. I'll tell you something funny about Skyhead. Johnny Val asked for any Skyhead stories. We used to have a fucking... Oh, I got to answer this first, Carpetbagger. Do you listen to the Templars? Do I? They're one of my favorite bands of all fucking time. I don't mean my favorite oi band. I don't mean my favorite street rock band. I don't mean my favorite... They're one of my favorite fucking bands. I think they are one of the most underrated fucking bands of all fucking time. They are so riff heavy. I mean, they are like 70s rock riff heavy. And I've ripped them off repeatedly. I have to really love a band to like, literally... Oscar Wilde used to say, amateurs borrow, geniuses plagiarize. Well, I'm not afraid to plagiarize. If you listen to the end of the Blood for Blood song on Living in Exile, Nothing for You, Nihilism, then go listen to the song Night of the Seagulls by the Templars. You'll hear similarities. Or the song You Decide by the Templars. Well, go listen to Anywhere But Here. Obviously, on Living in Exile, I was listening to a lot of Templars. I think they are fucking awesome. One of my favorite bands of all time. Blake Patria says, I love the distortion they use. Yes, fucking A. It's very fuzzy. It's very 70s, very analog, very rock. Excelsium Exalaris says, you played with them in NYC? What band? Still haven't lost anybody. Everybody's still here. All right, we'll keep going. Yeah, I love them. Hello. Is that Japanese? Konnichiwa? Nihongo ga hinasimasu ka? Wakaramasu ka? Hajimemashite Rob desu. Nihongo ga hinasimasu. Yoku. Oh, nope. Guess I'm wrong. I missed something. Oh, the Skyhead thing. We used to have a blast with those guys on the fucking road. I mean, a fucking blast. I would prefer to have Ian here to tell some of those stories because there was a lot of male nudity. They thought we were crazy, but one of the funny things was they had a thing of somebody on the tour. I don't know if it was them. Somebody on the tour had a thing of those Trivial Pursuit cards. One night we were at a bar and they started doing Trivial Pursuit, and I just was banging the questions, and they all just stopped answering. And everybody just started reading questions to me. It got to this thing on the tour. We do that. Like, ask Rob some trivia questions. And I'd be like, no sports. Although I can get some, but I would just get like, at least half of them right. I was kind of proud of that. They'd be like, watch this. They'd call girls over and stuff. And be like, watch this. Ask him any of these. They'd like give the girl cards. Fucking, it was fun. They were a blast. Doggy says, I went booty dancing with Skyhead in Chicago. That would be a fun fucking time. Sean, I'm glad you stopped by, brother. Thank you for everything. All right, perhaps we should wrap this up. Thank you all for fucking coming out. I'm trying to see if I missed anything. I don't think I did. I had a couple of fucking ideas. Bobby Brett asked, what happened to the sound on Living in Exile? It sounds thin. It's actually a good question. Straw Dogs were great. Bleak Forecast. They were fucking great. Yeah, a couple of reasons for that. First, Revenge on Society, as much as I like the songs on it and was happy with the songs, I hate the production on it. The guitars are really muddy. The vocals are really, because the guitars were so muddy, and mid-rangey. There's a reason for that, a story behind that. And the drums are so sluggish. Me and Buddha weren't singing full-throated, so my like the voices are very breathy, like, I seek revenge on society. Well, I wouldn't do that live now. I seek revenge on... I'd do it like full-throated. So I don't like that album. So consequently on Exile, when we were getting ready to do it, I said to the producer, Jim, I was like, we got to go bright on this. We got to go bright. And on this, the other part of it was at the time, my Les Paul, which had the Jeff Beck pickup in it, the JB, Seymour Duncan JB model, which is the best pickup ever made, in my opinion. It was having intonation problems, so I had to use my fucking Kramer Pacer American, which had a stock pickup in it. It was a good pickup. It was the Kramer pickups were good, but it was real bright, real sharp. And I'm road deaf. I was even road deaf at that time from years of touring. My high end was gone. So I kept having Jim, the producer, brighten it, brighten it, brighten it, brighten it, sharpen it, sharpen it, sharpen it. So by the end, it's almost like Bob Mould's Sugar album. It's like an ear drill. It's very piercing. The production's great. It's very bright, very sharp, very harsh. We fixed that on Outlaw. In fact, after me and Jim were talking one night, I said I wanted to go, when we were talking about the production on Outlaw, I said I wanted as bright as Exile. He's like, we can't go as bright as Exile, and we got to keep some body this time. What he told me later was he didn't realize how road deaf I was. So on Outlaw, when I kept saying, brighten it, he'd pretend to. And I can't hear it that well anyway. And he capped it at a certain point. So Outlaw's very bright, but it's also super thick. Exile's different, for the reasons I mentioned. I do too, Drugstore Cowboy. I like Still Fucked Up way better than the original. Any version that was redone of something from Revenge on Society, I prefer the redo of it. John O'Brien asked if I'd be interested in consider doing an 80s dance video. Yep. I almost did that tonight. What's going on, Chris? He said the production sucked because a Greyhound stepped on the tapes. That is old school. Thank you, Docu. Yeah, no. Carpetbag said, thanks, Rob. Couldn't ask for a better Saturday night. No booze, no dope. Oh, I'll tell you. Chris had reminded me of one story. I'll tell you guys. We were playing a show down in West Virginia, Blood for Blood. It was early on. I don't even think Revenge was out yet. Just some tiny little show that we said yes to. Oh, Sam Bays, what's going on, brother? It's good to see you. And there were these we got down there. It's like it's almost in like the Ozarks. And they were these like hillbilly wannabe gangsters. They had like mullets, but they were trying to be like gangsters at the same time. And we ended up talking to them after a while because we were out back just laying around waiting for this show to happen so we can go the fuck home. They kept like staring at us and being like territorial jabronis. And we ended up finally talking, and they kept this yellowing picture. They kept them yellowing. All had this newspaper article, and you got to check this out, man. There's this yellowing, moldering newspaper clippings that they all kept about their boy getting arrested. And it was for something totally chicken shit, like DUI or something like that, or he broke a store window or something totally lame. And it was so small town that it fucking made it into local paper. They carried this around like it was the obituary for Tupac or some shit like that. This was like their evidence, like, yo, we're real. I was like, you guys are nerds. Sam Bays asked why the name Ramallah. Because at the time I thought it would, at the time period, and because there was a social criticism within the band, I thought it would antagonize people, make them uneasy, perhaps catch their attention. All right, guys. Thank you, Jamie. Dave Jansen says I'm the cool teacher in high school that keeps you on. Yeah, Chris says it reminded me of the orphans from the Warriors. Holy shit. Spotify just asked, what's the story behind the teardrop? It's funny you asked me that because when this fucking social close down distancing shit happened, I've been going for like a 5 mile a day walk every day. It's in the mountains though. It's not like, jazzercising or something. It's like we're up in the sticks. Cop stopped me and grilled me fucking hard. He ended up being cool. But he basically admitted, like, I'm stopping you because I don't know who you are. I don't recognize you. And he kept saying, it's a really interesting tattoo you got on your face, bro. I was like, yeah. Thanks. And finally, I was like, dude, it's my band's logo is a blood teardrop on a skull. And the reason I mentioned that was I was like, I want this guy to have some idea who I am, simply so he doesn't think that I'm, that I have some reach. That if he decides to slap me around to take me in for, he ended up being all right, but yeah, that was kind of that. Yeah, I'm gonna need a fucking haircut as well. Thank you for stopping by, Anthony. Where'd you do time, Sam? Yeah, I gotta get my hair cut too. It's starting to fade in. And I'm still going. Yep. I just blew it. Chef Ken said it's the longest seen Rob go without a cigarette. All right, guys. We'll wrap up now. I'm glad y'all came out. I seriously appreciate. There's a couple of people I didn't see in here tonight, and I know they were sick. So I hope they're okay. I love to you all. I hope you're all okay. Hang in there. All right. So shout out to Randy Riley. Yes, that's right. Dawn did the pitchfork. That's right. How do you know? Are you down from Waterbury? I mean, do you live down there? Connor McDonald says, "Have a good night, you too, brother." All right, we shall wrap up here. We'll do the prayer. See if I can get through it. I love you all. We'll do this again. Figure we'll keep doing this, but watch the social media. Maybe we'll put it up earlier next time, a couple of days earlier. But basically, we'll aim for Saturday night, if nothing else, and if maybe do it on impulse or something like that. I will, Chris. I'll hit you up on the Facebook. All right, guys, ready? Hand over the hearts. What I gotta do to find a better way to make it through this? Gotta be a better way than living like this. I was waiting for a better way and waiting for a better day. I waited so long that I lost my faith. I was waiting, I was hating, I was bleeding, I was bleeding, I was praying for something that never came. I, perhaps you, many of us, we, the collective we, the royal we, no I in team, prayed for something that never came. So, bang, glug, 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 bang, 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 and no more. Ah! All right, guys. I love to you all. Go team, no head in the oven. Everybody hang in there. Thank you all for coming out. Please be as safe as you can be. And that's it. You have a good night. Opie DeFore, shout out. See you later, guys.